Hello, I'm Phil Manastra. I'm a USATF certified EMJ. I'm here to talk to you about EDM and EDR today. Some of just the basics that you'll need to know. We're here at the Armory, so we're in the cage section where the throwers are. First step to doing anything with EDM EDR is finding a safe location for your event. You can look around and see the cage here, even the cages on the side, and the only open spot that we have to really shoot is going to be behind the sector, which you can do in EDM EDR. So since that's our safe point, that's where we're going to set up. Okay, so now that we got our location, you might need to be further back with the guard there. Three things you're probably going to need to set up the initial tripod. You're going to need your bullet level, a spreader if you have one, and of course the tripod itself. Spreader makes it really easy to keep all the legs level and uniform when you initially start. You'll quickly just take it, slide it into its spot, slide that leg into its spot, and slide that leg into a spot. Here I am, they're all low. I would lock it in. When I put my bolt level on, typically I'm almost already level. I can make so all my legs are low, and then I would adjust them there. Once you have it adjust, I'll show you the next step. So now you can see that we have the level and the tripod together, and it shows the bubble right in the middle. So once we have the tripod level all, we attach our head. All the adjustments are at 0. He says how I'm going to lock it in initially. I find screw, height nice and good, and then I go for the bubble, which is on the back side over here, and then I'll start adjusting the knobs to make them level. Okay, now everything is level, including my bubble. Time to hook up the computer to get everything set up and make sure I can calibrate from there. Okay, so now that we have the scope set up, we're going to hook the computer up. Computer's hooked up. First thing we're going to do is get to go to setup. So right here, depends on what version you have, okay? We got the set controls and everything else. In order to do that, the first thing we need to do is take steel tape from the point in the runway if it's dabbling, from the middle of the circle if it's weight or hammer throw, discus, shot put, or from the toe board if it's a triple or long jump. Now, triple and long jump, you're going to have a far and near measurement you need to take. Everything else is just going to have the middle. Okay? I take my steel tape, I measure along the sector lines, and get my test points. That is step number 1. After that, I'm going to take my prism and go to the center point and then shoot that to do the initial calibration. Because that shows how far away the system is from the center point. And then I would go to my test mark that I pulled with the steel tape and take a measurement. Those two numbers should match up. Once I have those matched up, then I can go on to start the event, and then I need to fill out my form of performance. Okay, so now that we've done our initial setup of the EDM EDR equipment, there's one other part that is crucial to actually certify in anything that you do, and that is going to be the form of conformity. It's pretty straightforward. This is from the Indoor Championships. You pick your event, you pick the gender, you pick the section, qualifying final, and the locations are already typed in. You put the information from your toll station, the model number, the serial number. Depends on which one it is. It's located at different parts, but all of them have it listed on it. Make sure you write that down. The manufacturer you would know as well. Toll station calibration date normally is provided by whoever provides the equipment if it's not your own, and they would have that information on file. When you do the setup, you have the tape measurement, the time you take it, and whether you have 1, 2, or 3 checkpoints or 4 if need be. So therefore you would have things set up. When you do by device, you want to make sure it matches, right? So these two should be done simultaneously. If the device is not matching the tape, then obviously you got to recalibrate. You would not start the event or do the bottom part of the sheet until you know these match up. Then during it, after the first round, second round, third round, when you can, you would do the different checkpoints
as necessary. So therefore you can say the machine stayed within calibration for the marks, and therefore the marks should be considered legal. When you're done, EDM operator, EDM judge, event judge, referee, ITO if necessary, you would fill that out and make sure that they all agree on the final results. Now, one thing to notice about checkpoints, when you're outdoors, you're probably going to stick something in grass that can be moved. Here, we have the whole cage walking around, and therefore we could easily pick a metal pole that's not going to move, and we can keep that checkpoint throughout the day as an easy checkpoint to refer back to. If you do not have a stationary point which you can attach to what we would call a monument to shoot, you would have a point in the ground where the person with the prism would go after each round. You would shoot the test mark to make sure the number is still coming up equal to what you had measured before the competition had started. That sums up the basics of EDM and EDR. So this is Phil Monastra again with EDM, EDR videos. Here is a sheet with some of the different reflectors you could use for the monuments. These up here and these down here, you could easily stick to a pole or somewhere. These you could zip tie or adhere to a pole. And these are the ones you'd be putting in the ground so the person holding the prism can easily come through and figure out what's going on. As I pivot over, here we have the shot put sector, right? So we could put one if we had sector lines in the ground where we would need them to be. But an easier test point, if I zoom all the way in, you see that reflector on that metal pole out there. So in the distance, I wouldn't have to worry about the prism guy running and going over. I would have my initial pull to like 60 or 70 feet for my test measurement. Once I know that my laser is calibrated to that, I would shoot the reflector mark on the pole. Once the reflector mark is shot on the pole, then as long as I shoot that and get the same number each time, I never have to go back to my test point on the sector line. Conversely, I also have a reflector mark on that pole. Anything that is stationary and cannot be moved, such as metal poles, can be used for setting up a reflector for your test measurements. Therefore, the person with the prism doesn't have to run back and forth. Here we are at a horizontal jump runway. We have the pit that's covered up. Now, for the initial test mark, you're not going to be able to put a monument in the sand because it would not work. Also, with the shot put area, if it's gravel, it would not work. But anything with grass, you can stick a monument in. Here on the back end, we have a mark which would be measured to. So you'd pull steel tape from the board to that mark, and therefore every single time that you need a test measurement, the person with the prism would come there. Again, a mark on concrete will not move. You could also, if you wanted to, put a reflector on a pole in the distance, as I have up here, and therefore you would then be able to shoot that as your test measurement mark if you wanted something more permanently fixed. You just need to make sure that you'd easily be able to access it. So I made it high enough that even if races were going on, I could still shoot from wherever I would be set up over here on either side of the runway pit. So those are the different ways in which you can set up and get a more permanent test measurement mark or set up a monument in order to be able to handle your test points.